From Washington, D.C., this is the Muslim News on Muslim Network TV. Assalamu alaikum, I'm Hena Zuberi. Our top story tonight: Maryam Hasnain, the youngest and first Muslim appointee in President Joe Biden's administration, has resigned from her role at the U.S. Interior Department. In her statement, 24-year-old Hasnain criticized the administration for ignoring calls for justice and freedom for Palestinians amid Israel's war on Gaza. She expressed disillusionment, saying even serving in a non-foreign policy role makes one complicit. Her resignation marks at least the 11th by U.S. officials protesting American support for Israeli actions in Gaza. Nihad Awad of the Council on American Islamic Relations praised Hasnain's decision, urging Biden to reverse course on his stance. Despite international criticism and calls for a ceasefire, the Biden administration has maintained steadfast support for Israel, endorsing military aid and diplomatic backing. In a series of attacks, Israeli bombings killed at least 26 Palestinians in Gaza on Wednesday, according to medical sources. 7 bodies were recovered in Rafah's Tal al-Sultan neighborhood, with 5 charred beyond recognition. Among the dead were 9 members of a single family in eastern Khan Yunis who had relocated to a designated, quote, safe zone, following Israeli evacuation orders. Wafa news agency reports that the central Gaza refugee camp saw the deaths of 2 women after an apartment bombing. The Israeli army has targeted 50 sites associated with Palestinian resistance in Gaza City, Shujaiya's neighborhood, displacing around 85,000 residents. Despite the mass exodus, many remain behind, according to Sam Rose, UN Refugee Agency Director of Planning. The World Health Organization's Rick Peppercorn reports that the European hospital in Khan Yunis now houses only 3 patients, with hundreds having fled. He urged for the hospital to be spared from further attacks as an Israeli ground invasion loomed. In the occupied West Bank, an Israeli air raid on the Nur Shams refugee camp killed 4 people, adding to the 6 Palestinian fatalities in the past 24 hours. In northern Israel, a suspected stabbing attack in Carmiel resulted in 3 injuries and the death of alleged attacker who was shot by police. Israel's war on Gaza has killed 37,925 Palestinians and injured 87,141 since October. The International Court of Justice has accused Israel of genocide, ordering an immediate halt to military operations in Rafah. President Joe Biden sharply criticized the Supreme Court for granting former President Donald Trump substantial immunity from prosecution related to the January 6, 2021 Capitol attack. Biden condemned the decision, saying no one is above the law, not even the President of the United States. He argued that the Supreme Court's decision weakens the checks on presidential power, allowing future presidents to potentially evade legal consequences. He has expressed concern on Trump's actions on January 6, which could go unpunished, impacting justice and the upcoming election. In related news, in the wake of Supreme Court's recent decision granting immunity to former presidents, reports suggest that Donald Trump is gearing up to wield unprecedented authority if re-elected. According to Axios, Trump plans to push the limits of presidential power, emboldened by reduced congressional and judicial oversight. This includes initiatives like establishing deportation camps, purging civil servants, and tightening control over the Justice Department. Critics argue the ruling grants Trump unchecked power, enabling him to bypass legal constraints. Liberal Justice Sonia Sotomayor condemned the decision, warning it legitimizes extreme presidential actions. She also wrote in her dissent against Monday's decision that the Supreme Court's majority effectively has endorsed assassinations of political rivals and orchestration of a military coup. With Trump poised to exploit these newfound freedoms, concerns over executive overreach and constitutional norms intensify amid the upcoming election cycle. Trump also has pledged to gut environmental rules, which the Supreme Court also targeted in recent rulings, and ram through climate-wrecking drilling projects. The move is backed by the powerful oil and gas industry, helping finance his campaign. Rudy Giuliani, former lawyer for Donald Trump, has been permanently disbarred in New York State for knowingly spreading false claims about the 2020 election. The New York Supreme Court's Appellate Division accused Giuliani of repeatedly lying about election fraud, which they deemed a danger to public trust and legal ethics. Giuliani faced this decision after his law license was suspended in 2021. He also faces legal challenges in Arizona and New York, including bankruptcy and allegations of sexual assault. Despite denials, Giuliani continues to grapple with multiple legal battles, including a recommendation for disbarment in Washington. Giuliani filed for bankruptcy protection in December following a $148 million defamation judgment leveled against him for false statements. He's also facing multiple actions in New York State, including a $10 million complaint from an alleged former employee who accuses him of sexual assault. The Biden administration has unveiled a groundbreaking proposal aimed at safeguarding workers from extreme heat. The proposed rule set forth by the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, or OSHA, marks the first national standard for heat safety in the workplace. It aims to shield about 36 million employees from heat-related injuries and illnesses, echoing state-level regulations enacted in recent years. The initiative, celebrated by groups representing farm workers and other vulnerable workers, mandates access to shade, water, and rest breaks in hazardous temperatures. The proposal includes escalating safeguards based on heat levels and calls for employer penalties for heat-related incidents. Meanwhile, the Department of Homeland Security and the Federal Emergency Management Agency, or FEMA, announced a set of 656 projects aimed at preparing for extreme heat and other weather disasters at a cost of nearly $1 billion. U.S. government funds Moderna for pandemic flu vaccine. Details come after the break. Stay tuned and we'll be right back. Welcome back. The federal government has given pharmaceutical giant Moderna $176 million to speed up the development of a pandemic influenza vaccine, specifically targeting bird flu in dairy cows. Moderna is known for its mRNA technology used in COVID-19 vaccines. If already in the early stages of testing a bird flu vaccine, H5N1 bird flu has surfaced in dairy cows across 12 states and mildly infected 3 people. Federal health authorities have underscored the overall low risk to the broader population. Funding from the Department of Health and Human Services for the vaccine will include a potential late-stage trial next year, pending positive early results. The initiative aims to enhance medical responses to potential pandemics. The Council on American Islamic Relations, or CAIR, has facilitated the release of a U.S. citizen who had gone for the Umrah pilgrimage from Saudi detention. The pilgrim from California was detained upon arrival without contact for weeks. Concerns heightened due to his lack of crucial medication. With CAIR's intervention, he was released and reunited with his family. CAIR also assisted in securing a U.S. visa for the non-American mother of a critically ill American toddler in Florida. She initially was denied entry, but with the Muslim advocacy group's intervention, she was able to obtain it, allowing her to accompany her child to the U.S. for life-saving care. UN Special Advisor Mo Bleeker lambasted the international community for its ongoing failure to prevent genocide, war crimes, ethnic cleansing, and crimes against humanity. Speaking at the UN General Assembly, Bleeker recalled the unfulfilled promises made during the 2005 World Summit. There, states had vowed to protect their populations from such atrocities. She highlights a disturbing trend of indifference and denial in responding to early warnings of risks of atrocities that lead to inaction. Bleeker noted the UN Security Council struggles due to disagreements amongst its permanent members. But she reaffirmed the enduring importance of the responsibility to protect principle, emphasizing its role in safeguarding global humanitarian values. Desperate Rohingya refugees are resorting to smugglers to seek safety in southeastern Bangladesh amid escalating violence in Burma's Rakhine state. Officials and refugees say there has been a surge in crossings as clashes intensify between Burma's military and the Arakan army. Brokers on both sides of the Naf River, which marks the border of southeastern Bangladesh and northwestern Burma, profit from Rohingya desperation. They charge hefty fees for crossing to Bangladesh, Indonesia, or Malaysia. Authorities have vowed to crack down on these smuggling operations. More than 70,000 Rohingya remain trapped in Rakhine, underscoring the urgency of their plight. Refugee camps in Cox's Bazar continue to provide sanctuary to more than 1 million Rohingya despite ongoing hardships. Many fled Burma following a military genocide in 2017 in Burma. At least 121 people are reported dead in a stampede at a Hindu religious event in India's northern Uttar Pradesh province. The dead include women and children. The tragedy occurred during a prayer meeting attended by thousands, far exceeding the permitted 5,000 attendees. Hundreds of people sustained injuries and were rushed to local hospitals. Authorities report overcrowding and a sudden rush to exit after the event, with religious leader Bhole Baba led to the chaos. Visuals showed bodies being transported to the community health center amid distraught relatives. An eyewitness described the scene as people falling over each other in a desperate attempt to leave. India has a history of deadly accidents during large religious gatherings, highlighting ongoing concerns about safety measures at such events. In 2016, at least 112 people were killed after a huge explosion caused by banned fireworks display at a temple marking the Hindu New Year. Another 115 devotees died in 2013 after a stampede at a bridge near a temple in central Madhya Pradesh state in central India. At least 224 pilgrims died and more than 400 were injured in a 2008 stampede at a hilltop temple in the northern city of Jodhpur in Rajasthan state. Albanian literary giant Ismail Kadare died at the age of 88 on Monday in the Albanian capital Tirana. Born January 28, 1936, Kadare was celebrated as one of the greatest writers of the 20th and 21st century, known for his universal voice against totalitarianism. His novel, The General of the Dead Army, brought him to international fame and set the stage for his prolific career. Living under Albania's strict communist regime, Kadare navigated censorship with allegories and myths, producing works that resonated globally. He defected to France in 1990 to escape the regime and continued to write, becoming a significant figure in world literature. Kadare's accolades include the inaugural Man Booker International Prize, the Prince of Asturias Award, and the Jerusalem Prize. His works, translated into 45 languages, compared him to literary giants like Kafka and Orwell. Kadare's influence extended beyond literature. He was a member of the French Academy of Moral and Political Sciences and was awarded the Commander of the Legion of Honor Award in 2016. He's survived by his wife Hena and daughter Basiana, who is the Albania's UN ambassador. Kadare leaves a legacy as a literary beacon who illuminated the human condition under tyranny. That's all from our Washington, D.C. studios tonight. Thank you for tuning in. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell icon for the latest updates. Your support is needed more than ever to continue our mission of providing information, education, and inspiring content to Muslims in North America and around the world. Donate now by visiting muslimnetwork.tv/donate. For more content, keep watching Muslim Network TV and visit our website. Assalamu alaikum and good night.